Malik Jefferson was the number one rated outside linebacker coming out of his high school class back in 2015. But how does that translate into what he is now? Brendan Albert is here. I am Adrian Fedke. Malik Jefferson it is.
Hook 'em. Let's talk about Malik Jefferson here. One of the most athletic linebackers in the country. Certainly one of those guys who I think, honestly, his best football is ahead of him. Played on a team at Texas that just historically just was like watching a meteor just coming closer and closer to earth, unfortunately. The days of Texas football being the powerhouse that we remember of Vince Young aren't there anymore. But I think Malik Jefferson's future is very bright in the NFL.
Yeah, and you can definitely see the athleticism that he has on tape, and then that's basically what we're going to talk about first. So this first clip here of Jefferson, fantastic in space, and he can close in a hurry.
Absolutely. When you play in the Big 12 and you play against a team like Oklahoma State, you know they are going to use every inch of the field. They're going to go sideline to sideline with the ball. It's not like the SEC, where the SEC is power football. Big 12 is all about playing in space. So Malik Jefferson was a fantastic player in the Big 12 because that defense matched up with his skill set. So we're going to see him right here pretty much lined up in the middle of the field and watching him just being able to get over the top of this play. Now, this ball really should not be his. This should not be a tackle for him. But his athletic ability to scrape under the play and use his speed to get there is clearly seen. So this is something the NFL gets very excited about.
And a great lateral pursuit here on this next play.
Absolutely. Playing against SC here does a great job of kind of knifing through the backfield, getting through the trash, and coming in. Malik Jefferson's lateral pursuit, Adrian, is perfect.
So what we're going to do, we'll watch these plays again, but we're going to do this in fast time, and you're going to see just how fast and he gets and closes on that ball carrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we see these plays again, and I mean, you can see like how fast he's moving compared to the rest of the players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Malik Jefferson, and you're going to see a lot of guys comparing him to a whole bunch of athletic linebackers, and I think that's really fair because that's where his game is in speed and athleticism.
Look at this. Whole lot of steam coming forward, and he's laying the lumber.
He is.
So next couple things, some of the things that he also does well, hand usage and shocking tight ends and being able to play on the edge. So let's get into that.
And I think this is where we're going to see him in the future. I think he's going to ultimately be an outside backer, probably be more of a will guy, the guy who's going to play a little more coverage, not necessarily the physical inside backer. He's more of the finesse guy. So this is something that's really important. How does he deal with taking on tight ends who are likely going to be running at him outside zone situations?
Yep, and here we go.
You would like to see him use his hands a little bit better there. He gets into his helmet and his shoulder pads a little too much, but does still a good job of getting off it. NFL, though, he's probably going to get blocked.
Yeah, so we did a Rashaan Evans film study earlier, and in his clip, you see him just push the tight end all the way back. You don't see that here. He does just enough to get off that block.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to look at it, Adrian. He does just enough. Now, the next clip here is really where we're going to see the value of Malik Jefferson. Malik Jefferson's ability is going to be coverage. That's why I talked about he'll be a will backer in the outside in the NFL because of his ability to cover the slot. Now, he's 40 pounds, 30 pounds heavier than this guy, and he's able to run with him, flip his hips and run, and that's where Darnold wants to go with the ball. Darnold wants to be able to throw that seam on him, but Malik Jefferson gets right in his hip and is able to get, stride for stride with him. And he's 30 pounds heavier than the guy against him.
That's impressive. That really is. That's a 3rd and 10. You can see Darnold staring at him the whole time, and he's hip to hip with him.
Yeah, and Darnold even tries to pull it, and he's like, no, he's like, I can't throw this. He's like, Malik's right in his pocket.
So that was some man coverage. And the next clip we're going to look at, his ability to play in zone. And once he able to get out of his drop and then go downhill, he's able to read this really well.
Yeah, we talk about being able to fire your gun, read the crosser, fire your gun, get downhill now, and be able to lay the lumber. I mean, he's able to make this a gain of 1 yard just because of his athleticism to get out of a pedal and move forward. That's not something you see from a lot of linebackers. You see that more from safeties.
And coverage is something that you need to do if you're a Philadelphia Eagle at linebacker. And you look at his ability that he can play in zone, he can play little man. It could be a fit in Philly. I don't know if they pick him in the first round, but maybe if they trade back, You can get him in the second. What do you think about that?
I think that's a very, very good move. Now, it's easy for us to say, hey, trade back and get Malik Jefferson but that's easy to say if you don't have the trade partners.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes it hard,
You don't even know if he'd be available. Somebody might go and pluck him from you.
Exactly. It's that dice roll, So if the Eagles drafted him at 32 on the surface, a lot of people would probably say, ooh, that's a reach. But then when you look at what the draft capital or lack thereof the Philadelphia Eagles have, I'd be okay if they said, hey, look, let's not mess around with this. Let's take him at 32, even if maybe his value is maybe more in the 40s. We'll take him now. Let's not mess around.
So we showed a clip earlier about his hand usage, and we saw him do just enough against the tight end. Well, on this example, we see that he needs to do a little bit of work on that arm extension.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big thing we talked about, being able to lock out and really be able to drive that blocker where you want to do. This is not something that Malik Jefferson really is great at. Now, and this is what I talked about. I don't think he's a fit inside. I really don't think he's a Mike backer. I think he's more of that coverage guy. So you see him here. I don't think he's great in the trash. So don't get him in the trash. Keep him in space. He's not great here. I know he's obviously supposed to be responsible for the A gap, and he does flow to his gap. But if he locks his arms out, he's going to be able to move laterally a little bit better. And here, he just gets too deep into the trash, and he's not able to make a play and scrape over the top.
And you talked about him being more of like an edge guy than a thumper, and we're going to see that as an example here on the next play.
Again, lining up right in the middle of the field, right there on the hash. He was asked to spy a little bit more on Baker here in this game. And you see a double pull here. Look, he's just going to get absolutely destroyed here. I mean, there's no excuse for this. You have to be able to get over the top. He has to be able to read those pulling guards and say, hey, big fat boys, they're not running for no reason. You got to get over the top quicker here. But again, I don't think Malik Jefferson is going to be asked to play middle linebacker in the NFL. So I think Texas just used him a little bit wrong, personally.
Yeah, and the thing about him is he's more of a react guy than an instinct guy, and we see that here. And we're going to see that on the next play we're going to look at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I just don't think he's in the inside. I think he's more an outside, uses athleticism. Let's not ask him to be the overthinker of the bunch. Let's ask him just to be an athlete.
Yeah. Actually, we're going to see it on the next couple clips. So this is run pass option. This is a play action. Well, not a play action. Whatever it is. It's just a straight handoff, but he reads it wrong.
Doesn't do a great job here. Again, I don't think he's a fit inside. I think he's more of the athlete outside. So I have a hard time giving him too much fault here. And I'll admit this. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I can't really knock him on this because I don't think this is where he's going to play in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we see that there. And then we're going to see the last example here where he picks the wrong gap. So instincts need to get a little bit better. He reacts more than he plays.
Yeah. And Adrian, when you play this one back, do me a favor and pause it as soon as Baker hands the ball off. And when I look at this play, guys, you can argue two different ways here. You could argue it, one, Malik, this is not your gap. Because, and I know this for a fact, because any good defense would never put two defenders in the same gap. You can see here 19. You can see here that safety coming in, and then you see Malik Jefferson here. You would never put two defenders in the same gap because that tells me there's a vacant gap in the middle of the field, which is where the ball is going to be run. So if I am anti-Malik Jefferson, I'm saying, man, dude, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be here. Get to your right gap. This is not your job. If I am a very pro-Malik Jefferson guy, and I think I have more ammo to support this, Texas was not a very well-coached team the last couple of years. I mean, they're getting better, sure, but I could argue this might just be a dumb coaching mistake here too. Either way, it's inexcusable, for Malik Jefferson. Even if you're coached wrong, just have a brain here, man. You can clearly see, hey, my safety's coming in on this gap. I need to slide over. So, again, Malik, you're not great in the run game. You're not great in the middle of the field. Good news, I don't think that's what you're going to be asked to do in the NFL either.
We'll see it again, and then there you go. So he's off to the races. A nice little game there. So that's our Malik Jefferson clips. And as we get back here to the full screen, He fits what the Eagles like to do. So there's a lot of inconsistency in his game because the first tape I watched of him was USC. I was like, oh, wow, the USC tape was really damn impressive. And then you watch this Oklahoma tape, and you're like, oh, man, he's terrible. He's like a six-round pick. So there's flashes, and then there's stuff like this, and it's like, man, what are you going to see in the NFL?
You're 100% right, Adrian. And, here's the thing. Malik Jefferson's pros, he's awesome in coverage. I think he's pretty damn good off the edge, too, in blitzing. Yeah. His weakness is the run game. He's not great in the run game. Where does he go? I think he goes 20 to 40 in that range, probably closer to the 30 to 40 range, honestly. But I could see a team saying, look, we need to get to a coverage linebacker, and his value is going to be there because aside from Van Der Esch and Roquan Smith, I don't have a lot of guys that I love as coverage linebackers. So his coverage ability is going to be greatly valued in this year's draft.
Yeah, and you talked about his running game. Again, going back to the instinct thing, you have to be able to read where your blockers are going. If you have guards pulling to the left and you're not moving that way, I mean, you're not playing instinctually. You're reacting. And he has the athleticism to be able to react and play like that. But that's college. This is the NFL now. Guys are moving a little bit faster in college.
100% right. When you go to the league, that split second is no longer an offensive guard who's 280. This is an offensive guard who's 300 bills. And he's going to be able to hand you your lunch. So if you're not quick enough to the point of attack, and Malik Jefferson isn't exactly Rashaan Evans where he's a huge body, he's going to get his lunch handed to him in the run game. That's why I think, hey, you're probably more of an outside guy than an inside guy.
So it'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do here if they choose to go linebacker, because if Leighton Van Der Esch is off the board, I feel like at 32 might be a little bit too high to reach for Jefferson. So if you want a guy like this, you trade out of the first round. But obviously the Eagles, they don't really have a weakness on their roster right now. They're probably just going to take the best player available. So I don't know if they would go linebacker in the first round if things play out the way that I think they are.
Yeah, I probably would agree with you. I would say if the draft falls the way that you and I both think and Van Der Esch is gone, let's say the Rams take him, which is the team I think would take him if he's there, then you look at the Eagles and you're thinking, okay, Malik Jefferson is probably the next best linebacker that fits our system because I think he's a better fit than Evans. We talked about that in our Evans show. It's tough because then you say, okay, do we potentially overdraft the guy, but we're confident he's going to be a fit for us? Or do we trade down and roll the dice and hope that he's there? I think both arguments could be made. I personally would say, you know what? Let's draft him. If we're confident in it, let's not play around. Let's not get too cute. Let's draft him. Here's a scenario, though, that I think would help. If Lamar Jackson slides. If Lamar Jackson slides and Mason Rudolph will then in turn slide too, you get a situation like what happened with the Minnesota Vikings with Teddy Bridgewater. They ended up trading into the first round late so they could get that fifth-year option on Bridgewater. If something like that happens, that's a great scenario for the Eagles. So if you're Eagles fans, cross your fingers Lamar Jackson and Mason Rudolph slide. So in turn, maybe you get a team who's 35, it's 35th overall pick, 36th overall pick. They trade into 32, and the Eagles can still get Malik Jefferson at a more reasonable cost.
That's a great point, and we know quarterbacks obviously value the way that they are. You can get a little bit more draft compensation than, say, somebody that wants to trade at 32 for, say, a tackle or something. Mm-hmm. So that's a great point you make there. And even if it's not Rudolph or Jackson, maybe a team likes Luke Falk, maybe a team likes Kyle Lauletta, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are guys that could get pushed up because, right, wrong, or indifferent. Do I love all the quarterbacks this year? No. But they're the most important position on the field. So they're always going to get overdrafted.
There you go. All right. That is Malik Jefferson. That's also Brendan Albert. I am Adrian Fedke. Anything else you want to say?
Hook 'em. Go UT. I'd love to see Texas come good again. It's good for college football when they're good.
Yeah. All right. That's it. Peace.